You're listening to the WINFL show. I'm Ian McKinnon here with Jake McGee. I've got Dave Somerville with us, and we're joined by author Ben Isaacs. Ben, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastically well. How are you guys?
Very well indeed. It's Super Bowl week, finally. Took a while to get here.
Yeah, always takes too long. I think either make it 1 week or ideally do a doubleheader straight after the conference. Right, so make the conference championship games about 3 or 4 hours earlier in the day. Have them played at the same time. Have them broadcast split screen, and immediately after the game, you fly the two teams to the site of the Super Bowl and they play immediately. Can you imagine the carnage of that? Tell me that's not even more entertaining than a normal Super Bowl.
That might be, actually. Do you know what else they could do? Is sort of like they do in the World Cup, where you have a third place.
Oh, they used to do it. Ian, they used to do it. They used to do it. It was called the Playoff Bowl.
I don't remember this.
And Vince Lombardi.
Of course, it was a bowl.
Even then, they had to call it a bowl. And there's, in the end, they got rid of it because it was ridiculously bad idea in the end because people didn't want to do it. So what's the so he called it a hinky dink game. That it was just so he'd called it the Losers Bowl, and he had, because of how much he'd slagged it off, they were like, we probably shouldn't do that. If a coach who's playing in or coaching in that game thinks it's that bad. He used various expletives, but yeah, it was called the Playoff Bowl. I think it was all through the 60s they used to do it. I think they ended it in 1970. I think they ended it with the merger. So it's been done. It's been done.
Look at how many people drop out of the Pro Bowl. Could you imagine? It would be, your 53-man roster. It would be your special teams unit against your special teams unit.
It'd be 7-on-7. They play a 7-on-7.
Well, it might as well be what the Pro Bowl's become now, but they should have the Pro Bowl after the Super Bowl.
Oh, we should have the Pro Bowl never.
Yeah. Well, actually, in its current format, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's an absolute abomination in its current format. If you could make it so that you had actual Pro Bowl players rather than say like Drake May, you had actual Pro Bowl players and they all had to play, and you have it after the Super Bowl and you've got to play, because it used to be that you'd win the Super Bowl and then you'd be like, now I'm just going to go to Hawaii, chill for a bit, because players had less money then, and they earned far more than normal Americans. But now, the idea of like, oh, well, yeah, you're flying me to Hawaii. Well, yeah, I can do that whenever I want and pay it so that nobody can even look me in the eye. Yeah. But back in like the 70s and 80s and for parts of the 90s, be like, free trip to Hawaii with my family. Yeah, where do I sign? And at least players wanted to be there then. Now they know this thing is pointless. Get rid of the Pro Bowl. It's an embarrassment, an absolute embarrassment. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I hate it more than I hate the Combine, and I hate the Combine. But this week, I've been really immersed in the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl, because that's where things actually matter. And there are people watching the Pro Bowl and like really getting into it, and it's like, okay, us ball knowers. I don't mean to be rude there. Well, us ball knowers.
Walking soundbite.
We're there in the Senior Bowl and the Shrine Bowl. We care about that. You can keep this Pro Bowl, which is a glorified sports day. I want no part of it. I want it done, Ian. I want it done.
I don't blame you. It's become an absolute farce. This flag football.
Disgraceful.
So bad with pulling out. Hey.
There we go. Another one.
That even a saint got in at the end. That's how bad it was.
It's atrocious, and it should be put out of its misery. If players don't want to play in the Pro Bowl, then it shouldn't exist. So, is anyone really going to miss it if it's not there in the calendar? No, absolutely not. No. It had its day. It doesn't work anymore. It just needs to go.
And they should just do away with the entire process of Pro Bowl selections now. because it means nothing. It's
100%.
Yeah, it's a glorified popularity contest, and it doesn't. It has nothing to do with how good you are.
It's got everything to do with how good your social media team is at getting the vote out.
Absolutely.
And social media already have their Super Bowl. It's scheduled release day. So forget about the Pro Bowl, because it's just more work for the social media team. Let them focus on that scheduled release video, because I do care about that a lot more than I care about the Pro Bowl. That is great, although it's so difficult trying to process 32 of them all at the same time and like figure out which is the best when it's trying to watch 32 similar things back to back.
Yes.
But Pro Bowl's about social media now, and that sucks.
It does suck. The Pro Bowl's rubbish. Do away with it. Roger Goodell, if you're listening, just do away with it.
Stop. Nothing else to do. He's got nothing else to do right now.
Exactly.
What are you talking about? Of course he does.
Exactly. But guess what? We do have a game. Got a game this week. And we are challenging our guests. This is the most guests we've ever had on a podcast. I've lost count. It's hundreds of us. No, not literally. So we're going to be asking everyone, Ben, for your prediction for a winner. A score, if you can give us a score, if you're brave enough to give us one, because whoever gets closest to the actual score will win the WINFL Winners Award. That's a terrible name. I need to think of a better name for this.
Wow.
It's a terrible
Someone help me out here. Mike Carlson suggested the Braggis Cup because he's, slightly racist towards Scottish people. And and because the winner gets bragging rights as well. So, Ben, would you like...
Okay, well, the problem with this is, right, so on the Edge Rush podcast, we do something, Drew Lock of the Week, where we have to we choose I'll usually choose a game picking against the spread. Nat and Propo love to pick the over or under on particular games. I don't find, I'm not good at that. But I'm pretty good at looking through, seeing the lines and seeing, right, there's a game where I think the bookies have overestimated or underestimated a team. And for the second year in a row, I've won that contest at a canter. Very easy for me. So my worry is here. When I tell you the winner and the score, a lot of your listeners are going to feel like, oh, well, he spoiled it now. Because I don't need to watch the game. Because I've already found out the score. It's like if I'm sure you will have some listeners who are like, I can't stay up and watch it, but I'm going to get up early and I'm going to watch and I'm going to fast forward through the ads and I'm going to watch it that way. They wouldn't want to know the score as soon as they woke up. If their partner wakes up and say, oh, did you see such and such? And they'd be like, oh, now you've ruined it for me.
Yes.
I am a little bit worried. So listeners, if you are afraid of spoilers, you may want to just skip ahead like a minute. So, I think it's going to be a close one. Okay. I think the line is like 1.5 or something in favor of the Chiefs. I'm going to go for the Chiefs to win. I picked against the Chiefs in the conference championship weekend, and I kind of felt silly doing it, but I did believe in the Bills, and I was a bit let down by them. And I find it too difficult to pick against Mahomes and Reed and the Chiefs 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go for the Chiefs to win 24-21. I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be close. I think they can do enough to bottle up Saquon. Spags is a borderline genius as a defensive coordinator. And if they can bottle him up and force... Like if they've got to be beaten through the air, I don't think that's gonna work. If the Eagles are gonna win, it's gonna be through Saquon. So 24-21 to the Chiefs, I think. But these are the two best teams in the NFL.
Oh, you heard it here first. 24-21 to the Chiefs from Ben Isaacs. Jake, do you reckon we should pressure Ben to maybe give us another prediction? What do you think?
Yeah, I think, I won't say this to every guest, I promise, but Ben is one of my favourite guests because the man's a soundbite genius. He just provides us with so much. And Paul Heyman once said, it's not a prediction, it's a spoiler. And Ben's going to live to that. But one of my favourite soundbites was when he said it wasn't spicy, just a little bit. Do you remember where it was, Ben?
He was talking. He was talking about the books that his wife likes to read.
Oh, zesty.
Zesty.
Yes. Not quite spicy, just a little zesty.
Zesty.
So I want to ask you if you have, the obvious answer is Mahomes, especially because you're backing the Chiefs. But for the Super Bowl MVP, do you have any zesty suggestions?
Oh, That's it. So obviously, it's very easy to say Patrick Mahomes, and it's not very interesting. So a more zesty take is Xavier Worthy.
Mm-hmm.
He's the sort of player who just can have one of those crazy games. The Chiefs are built for a player to just every now and again have a crazy game that's, say, 170 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. So there's my zesty MVP take.
I like
Xavier Worthy.
I like that. Don't worry, we're not going to hold you to the MVP take. 90% of us are expecting if the Chiefs win, it'll be Mahomes. If the Eagles win, it'll likely be Saquon. So I think we're all sort of expecting that. But I like that. Xavier Worthy. That's a nice pick. That's a very nice pick. Ben Isaacs, author of The American Football Revolution, which you can buy online. Is it in any stores?
Not can, but should.
Oh, sorry. You absolutely should.
Yes.
Roger Goodell, if you're listening, you need to buy this book. Okay?
Buy one for every player in the NFL. So they can learn about the second most important market.
It should be
for the NFL.
Mandatory reading in the training room. It should be incorporated into teams' playbooks as mandated by the NFL. This is great.
Yes.
It's great. Yeah, I like it. Excellent stuff. Well, listen, Ben, thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it.
Wait.
Oh, hang on.
Wait.
What? Do you know? Are you wanting?
You're trying to get rid of me because you know that my random stat will be better than other people's random stats. Is that what's happening right now?
No.
I feel violated.
You feel violated?
Yeah.
No, it's because I completely forgot that we were doing random stats.
I didn't want to ask. Yeah, I didn't want to ask.
It's because I forgot we're doing random stats.
Oh, is that?
I've got a million notes here. Right?
How can I come on and not do a random stat?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Okay. I'll cut that, except I'm not going to, because this is gold. I'm not going to cut that. No. This is gold. There's no way I'm cutting any of this. I just forgot.
You don't know how, that's all. But it's too complicated.
Ben Isaacs, before you go, because we know how busy you are, see what I did there? That'll work. Would you be willing to provide us with a random stat?
Oh, well, seeing as you asked nicely.
Excellent.
So, the 1995 Nebraska team, this isn't an NFL stat, it's a college football stat.
Oh.
The 1995 Nebraska team was one of the greatest of all time. It was something crazy, like the average score in their games was like 53-10. They were unbeaten, and they were by far and away the best team in the country. The stat I love, they didn't allow a sack. They went to an entire season without allowing a sack. How is that possible? But that's what happened. Nebraska 95 didn't allow a sack.
How many games would they play in that season?
12, 13, something like that.
I think it would be 12.
How many linemen were drafted after that?
I mean, it was partly they had a quarterback who was running an option, and generally players couldn't get near him. But you just think there must have been the occasional sack, a broken play, or a defensive line was just able to make it through. But it just shows how dominant they were. I've got another stat that I'm saving for if I'm ever invited back, which, I mean, it's a long shot, but I'm going to keep that one. I really had to choose between two. So the other one I'm going to keep saved in the old noggin, ready for next time.
Save that one for next time, because the long season, the off season, I should say, is long and cold and wintry, and we need to wait for the draft. We'll definitely get you on pre-draft. How does that sound?
That sounds very nice.
Tell us what you're expecting from your Chicago Bears. What did you actually make of your Chicago Bears this season?
Oh my God!
I'm sorry to bring it up, but
I'm lucky in the best performance they had all season was in London, and I was able to enjoy a full week of festivities with the Bears, and then enjoy that game. And it's great going to the press conference and seeing those guys, thinking this team is going places. I was also at the game they lost to the Packers where they had the field goal blocked. And I was there thinking, oh, this is great. I'm going to see a fantastic victory here. And like, oh, no, I'm not. And then I had to go and fly. It was painful. It was such a badly coached, ill-disciplined team. Often when a team has a record as bad as they had, it's because the roster is just too thin. The roster wasn't too thin, although the offensive line is very thin. It wasn't because the roster was too thin. Just the game plans were wrong. The play calls were wrong. Like you could see that, they had 3 different offensive coordinators through the course of the season, which is always a bad sign. When Thomas Brown took over as offensive coordinator, things looked much better, even though they kept losing. They were losing because of Matt Eberflus's calls. And then when Brown had to be interim head coach and he wasn't calling the plays, it all went badly again.
Yeah.
There's talent on that roster. Some players really disappointed. Keenan Allen was a disappointment. DJ Moore was a disappointment. They should have done more for Caleb. But I feel they've got the right coach with Ben Johnson. That was the easy pick. He was the guy that everyone wanted. That doesn't mean it'll work out, but it's the obvious pick to make. So I'm optimistic about next season, providing they can get new players on the offensive line. If they can do that, then it's a completely different team. If you're well coached and you've got a solid offensive line, you will win games. So they can be feisty next year. And I'm, after ending the season like, oh, I thank God it's over, so I don't feel obliged to watch any more Bears games. I'm now thinking, oh, I'm looking forward to seeing this again. And so the cycle of delusion continues, that I'm looking forward to seeing them in September now.
But, I mean, you have to love... Obviously, Caleb Williams had a rough start. The first couple of games didn't look great, primarily because he was under pressure so much. But he did have that stretch through the middle of the season where you're thinking, hey, this guy can really play, looking like the first overall pick that he was. I mean, you must be looking forward to seeing him coming into the new year.
Absolutely love Caleb.
Yeah.
Lucky enough to see him play in the flesh twice, played brilliantly in both games. Like that game that the Bears lost to the Packers, they completely outplayed the Packers, and Caleb completely outdueled Jordan Love. Caleb looked fantastic. Considering the constant pressure that he was under and how quickly he was having to throw the ball and just get rid of it when he did, he took too many sacks. But he only threw 5-6 interceptions all season. He started all 17 games. So as a rookie, that's tough to do. And he is a leader. The players absolutely love him. And it's Ben Johnson said it's why he's taken this job. Big fan of Caleb. And I expect him to take a leap in year 2. I think a lot of people, because the Bears did so badly, because they've not properly watched those games and watched tape of Caleb, that they think that he didn't have a good season. He did have a good season. I dread to think what the scores in some of those games would have been if it wasn't Caleb. And I say that as someone who was a massive Justin Fields apologist, but it's like night and day. I will always love Justin Fields, but Caleb Williams has the potential to be a top tier quarterback. Justin Fields didn't, even though he was superbly entertaining. So if you put Justin Fields in that team last season, he's going to get them out of some tricky spots with his legs sometimes, but he's not able to make the plays that Caleb was making.
Yeah, absolutely. Jake, sorry.
And on a positive, you remember your Broncos beat the Chiefs in Week 18, which means there's only 2 teams who are unbeaten in 2025. Of course, the Philadelphia Eagles going to the Super Bowl, but the Chicago Bears are unbeaten in 2025 as well.
Absolutely. And Bears fans were more than happy to point out after the Lions were eliminated by the Washington Commanders that, okay, well, we're the only unbeaten team in the NFC North right now. So it's the Bears division to lose at this point. And obviously they've.
No, I was just going to say that barrel has been scraped so deep at this point with the Chicago Bears.
Sometimes you have to scrape barrels. It's got to be done.
Yes.
Yeah, but they're reaching China now. That's how deep they've gone right through just to scrape something together.
The soundtrack
was your last game.
I suppose.
The soundtrack of my life is just that barrel being scraped. That's what I hear when I go to sleep at night, if I can sleep.
If you can sleep, yeah, that's it. Well, listen, Ben, thank you so much for appearing on the podcast again. It's always wonderful to have you here. Patrick's not here to speak to you just now. We do apologise for that. I'm sure you were looking forward to speak to Patrick Jackson. He'll be in later on in the podcast, or possibly earlier, depending on which order I put this in. Because I've got no idea what to do now. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm a lead-off man or I'm the headliner at the end. I mean, you'll figure it out.
You're a man of many abilities, and I feel comfortable putting you anywhere in the podcast. Definitely,
Thank you.
I might even use our pre-introduction part where you discussed your 3-foot bear named Bert.
He is well oiled.
And hopefully we all are on Super Bowl Sunday as well.
Oh, sorry.
Looking forward to that.
Excuse me? You right. First of all, you invited us over for our Super Bowl party.
I did.
So I just really hope this isn't linked.
I didn't get that invite.
Well, I would have. Ben, do you want to come to mine for the Super Bowl?
Absolutely not, Ian.
Can't win with this.
As an afterthought, that's an insult to our guests. An afterthought. There's one thing worse than not being invited is being invited after you've realised you've not been invited.
Right.
It was an invitation. He didn't want me to come. It was an invitation.
Do you want to come to mine for the draft? We've got a spare bedroom. My beautiful wife, who is an angel and a saint, she won't mind.
I'm going to be working in some capacity for the draft.
Already making excuses. Here we go.
Not be drinking. See, no, I might now, just to spite you, turn up unannounced.
Oh dear, I know that my lovely wife, she was saying you should ask Mark Chapman to come over. She likes Mark.
Oh,
she does.
You're not helping here.
When I told her that Mark Chapman had agreed to come on the podcast, she was her choice of words were zesty, shall we say? So I was like, don't know if I want to get this guy on now. Yeah,
you really know how to make guests feel special,
Yeah, I can't imagine that you're there telling your wife, "Oh, we got Ben Isaacs coming on." It's like, who? The American Football Revolution.
She's well aware of who you are because I showed her your book, as Jake is modelling for us right now. See,
mine's there. Mine's there. I swear it's there.
I feel that Mark Chapman is substantially more famous than I am. Obviously I have socialized in places with Mike Carlson, and in Dublin last summer for the big Aer Lingus College Football Classic, Florida State, Georgia Tech. And someone connected to the game because we were like, we got to go for a drink after the game, but how are we going to get in anywhere? And someone said, don't worry, my mum and dad run a bar and we can get you in. And his dad was a huge fan of Mike Carlson. And I thought at this point, clearly, Carlson is not paying for a drink in this place. As it is, none of us did. And I thought, this is amazing. We're treated so well. And clearly they had a strong policy of certain individuals would get special treatment because they somebody came up and said to the guy running it, we've got an astronaut outside. And I thought, is this code for something? But no, there was a former NASA astronaut queuing outside, and it was made clear that there was an astronaut. Just let him skip the queue, get him in. So if it's like Mike Carlson or someone who's been in space, those are the sort of people that just opens doors for you. So my advice, if you're going to go to a busy bar, go with Mike Carlson or an astronaut, and you can just sail straight in
I mean, that's pretty sound advice.
Yeah.
If I ever get the opportunity to do that, trust me, I will. That's some sound advice.
What would happen if Carlson went into space? Like, what sort of place would he be able to just walk into if he can tick both those boxes?
Anyway,
No, careful. He might get left there. Someone might just like leave him there. So let's be careful.
oh no,
I think certain people would like to blast him into space. Thankfully, I am not, but I know that he's more than happy to speak his mind, and certain people don't always appreciate that. Thankfully, I do. Love the guy.
That's why we love him.
absolutely.
Last time he was on the podcast, he brandished a knife at us. So
Oh yes, that's right.
brandished
Yeah.
a knife and then essentially threatened to commit harikari. I forget what it's actually called.
Unaliving.
all
unaliving.
because of Dave's random stat.
Hi,
I think it was. Or was it Patrick's random stat?
Hi, don't throw me under the bus. That was
Listen, Patrick's not here to defend
Wow,
himself.
he really put that evil on you that day.
yeah,
That
Patrick's
is-
not here to defend himself, so I just picked the next person up. And
it's a safe bet with
it's a
Dave.
safe bet with Dave.
But it feels like to Ian, there's just this kind of blob of people who help him with this podcast.
There's
and
a tier system.
You are interchangeable.
That
To
is a horrendous thing to say.
That's just the vibe that comes across.
Wow.
Notice how he didn't deny it. You know, he said,
Yeah,
that's,
yeah,
that's,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
horrendous, but I'm not denying it.
Yeah, we all think it's horrendous.
Listen, without Jake, Dave, Patrick, this podcast wouldn't exist. That's a fact.
That's the order, you see.
It's a fact. Don't tell Patrick
Jake,
that.
Do you mean it wouldn't exist in its current form? It'd be something much better.
There wouldn't be any listeners, that's for sure.
Oh my words! We don't have any
thanks.
listeners now. Are you joking? Oh, don't tell Ben that.
Well,
Hey, as long as the check clears, the check still exists.
Don't drop it. That thing will bounce over a building. Right? I'm just saying. No, it's we started this podcast. Well, as you know, you were on our 100th episode. So it was November 20. I'm going to get this wrong, haven't I? 22,
Yep.
23.
No
did
one's
we start?
judging you. No one's
I don't
judging
know.
you.
Wasn't it 23?
Was it November 23 we started? No, couldn't have been.
Was November 23 the 100th?
No, that was beginning of 24. So we started this November 22. We started this pod.
Well,
21.
you have to fix this in the edit.
I can't. Oh, do you know? I can't be bothered. This is going to be the
The
longest
first
podcast.
episode was the 17th of February, 2022.
17th of February 2022.
3 years.
Okay. There you go.
And not near November.
Right.
But other than that,
I don't know why I thought November. I think I'm losing it. You know,
This
it's
podcast is brought to you by looking after the elderly.
it's because oh, cheeky.
we started an NFL podcast halfway through the season. That makes a lot of sense.
We started.
Well, to be-
was it the week after the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Well, that's when the USFL used to kick off back in the old days, and their logic kind of was like, well, hey, people have just watched Super Bowl. They want to watch more American football. Do
Yes.
it now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that very first episode was myself, Jake, and Dave. Here's they're part of the furniture bit. I don't consider them to be blobs underneath me. Maybe Dave. I don't know. Sorry, Dave.
I mean, literally on my screen, they are two underneath you. I thought that was deliberate. Very hierarchical.
Wow.
That's not my fault. It's not my fault.
Yeah.
Anyway, before Ben insults me anymore, let's kick him off. I wouldn't do that to you. But no, thank you very much, Ben. We really appreciate you come by the podcast. It's always good
My
to have
pleasure.
you
Start recording at any time
Oh,
so we
yeah.
can.
It's always a pleasure to have you on. We'll definitely
is.
get you on pre-draft. How does that sound?
Absolutely, because I'm working on the College Days podcast. We are very much in draft mode right now. We're about to do a mock draft next week, Dom Corbett and I. So we'd love to come on and talk draft. It's going to be an interesting one because the quarterbacks are all terrible.
Amen.
Does anyone think Travis Hunter is not going to be the first overall pick?
It's He's not the best player.
Abdul Carr.
Abdul Carter for Jake.
Jake is correct.
Oh, Abdul Carter
Carter's
from
the best
Ben.
player.
Dave?
Definitely.
Just I
What's
mean,
that?
we're talking about a stupid early prediction, Dave. First overall pick, who's it going to be? You're allowed to change it when we do it closer to the draft.
I'll go for Travis Hunter because of what the Titans guy said. The Titans owner, a generational talent, and everyone's overhyping Travis Hunter.
Everyone's
so
overhyping him massively at the moment. But,
Yeah, but then the Titans GM said, well, it's going to be Cam Ward. And then the Titans owner said, you're fired.
That's what happens. That's what happens. Right. We should make tracks because I've got loads to do. Sorry, Ben, I'm kicking you off the podcast. Not actually.
No, I need to have my dinner. So
yeah, we all need to have our
that's
dinner.
fine. That's fine.
I've started before my dinner, which I probably shouldn't have done. So, thank you very much, Ben Isaacs. Really appreciate it. And I know I speak for everyone when we say, I hope you enjoy the Super Bowl. And if you get your score correct, you will be receiving a small trophy.
Yeah, just post it now. Save yourself time.
Save us all time. Thank you very much, Ben Isaacs.
Thanks. See you guys.
Cheers.
Right. Thank you very much.